Hey there, curious minds! Welcome back to School Subjects Online, where we tackle the most fascinating what-if questions about history, science, and technology. Today's question might leave you flipping pages in your imagination. What if the printing press was never invented? How would people share books, news, or ideas with large groups of people? Let's turn the page and dive into history to find out. Before the printing press, if you wanted a book, well, you better hope you had really good handwriting. And not just any handwriting, but the kind that could stand the test of time. And a lot of time. We're talking months, sometimes even years, dedicated to a single book. Because every single book was painstakingly copied out by hand, usually by scribes working in monasteries. These monks would spend their days in dimly lit rooms, hunched over their desks, meticulously transcribing texts. Can you imagine spending months, maybe even years, hunched over a single text, carefully copying each letter, each word, each illustration? The dedication and patience required were immense. It was incredibly time-consuming, which meant books were crazy expensive, like cost the same as a house expensive. The materials alone, such as parchment and ink, were costly, and the labor added even more to the price. Only the richest of the rich could afford to own books, and most people probably went their entire lives without ever even holding one. Books were rare treasures, often locked away in private collections or monasteries, far from the reach of the common folk. Okay, so books were rare. They were not just rare, they were incredibly precious and often considered treasures. Imagine a world where a single book could be worth more than a house, and expensive. Think about what that means. Only the wealthiest could afford them. Books were like the luxury items of their time, akin to owning a private jet today. It means knowledge was like this super exclusive club that only a tiny percentage of people could get into. Imagine a secret society where only the elite had access to the most valuable information. Education was limited because, without books, how do you teach large groups of people? Teachers had to rely on oral traditions and storytelling, which meant that the spread of knowledge was slow and often inaccurate. Schools were smaller, and teachers had to rely on lectures and memorization. Students had to remember everything because there were no textbooks to refer back to. Imagine trying to learn complex subjects without any written material. And don't even get me started on trying to share new ideas. The process was painstakingly slow. Scholars had to write everything by hand, and each copy took months, if not years, to complete. Imagine trying to spread the word about, like, a scientific discovery or a new philosophical theory, when the only way to do it is to write it all out by hand, over and over again. The dissemination of knowledge was a Herculean task, and many ideas were lost simply because they couldn't be copied fast enough. Chapter 3. Gutenberg, Printing Press Rockstar. But then, in the 1440s, this guy named Johannes Gutenberg came along and changed everything. Gutenberg was a German inventor, and he had this crazy idea. What if, instead of copying books by hand, you could create a machine that could do it for you? And not just copy them slowly, but quickly and cheaply, using movable type that could be rearranged to create different pages. Thus, the printing press was born. Chapter 4. The World Without. A Thought Experiment. So, let's get back to our original question. What if the printing press had never been invented? Imagine a world where the written word remained a privilege of the few, a world where the democratization of knowledge never took place. What would the world look like? Picture cities and towns where libraries are empty or non-existent, and books are rare treasures locked away in the homes of the wealthy. Well, for starters, books would still be those super expensive, super rare objects that only the very wealthy could afford. The common person might never even see a book in their lifetime, let alone own one. Education would probably still be limited to the elite, and the spread of knowledge would be painstakingly slow. Universities and schools would be exclusive clubs for the privileged, and the idea of public education would be a distant dream. Imagine a world where news traveled at the speed of a handwritten letter. Important information would take weeks, if not months, to reach its destination, and the concept of breaking news would be non-existent. The Renaissance, that period of incredible artistic and intellectual flourishing, it might never have happened, or at the very least, it would have looked very different. The exchange of ideas that fueled this era would have been stifled. It might never have happened, or at the very least, it would have looked very different. The exchange of ideas that fueled this era would have been stifled, artists and thinkers would have struggled to share their revolutionary ideas. The same goes for the scientific revolution. The rapid advancements in science and technology that we take for granted today might have been delayed by centuries. Without the ability to easily share ideas and discoveries through printed books, progress in science and technology would have been severely hampered. Scientists would have had to rely on word of mouth and handwritten manuscripts, making collaboration and innovation incredibly difficult. So, next time you pick up a book or read an article online, take a moment to appreciate the printing press and the profound impact it has had on our world. It has shaped the way we learn, communicate, and progress as a society. So, what if the printing press had never been invented? Sharing books, news, and ideas would be much slower, and the world would be a very different place. It's a great reminder of how powerful inventions can change history. Here's a fun challenge for you. If you had to invent a new way to share books or ideas without a printing press, what would it be? Share your creative ideas in the comments below.